It is Friday, and this is the final day of the guaranteed every day, an hour a day live streams, but it is definitely not the last of our live streams. I have really been enjoying doing these daily live streams, and so we're going to continue doing that. We are going to continue. Now, we've got a few things to consider because, hi, Vicky, because, hold on, let me do that. Okay, because I do have several, procedures coming up, and the kids' fall break is coming up, and so there will be kinds of things going on. I might, maybe, have a live stream where I include, one or two of the kids here or there, whatever, we shall see. Hi, Pamela. I am doing really, really well today. Not even using any of the THC today. How about that? Went for a really good walk last night. And it was fantastic. And I walked so much further than I ever thought I could at this point. Went with Mariah. It was fantastic. And hello, Halkanen. I don't know that I ever pronounced that correctly, but it is so good to see you popping up in our live stream. Great to have you. Been a long time. Rita, hello there. Rita, I am doing far better than yesterday. And, oh, I did? Oh, fantastic. Okay. So I do want to be doing more of these live streams, though, and talking about various things that I think are relevant to us, to you, and to the time frame of life that we are living, whatever happens to be going on at that time. Now, today, what we're going to do, and we're going to jump in here pretty quick. Hi, Crystal. So glad you're here. That's all right. I'm glad you can spend any time at all with us. I appreciate it. Rita, I'm glad you went to physical therapy. I was just saying, Rita, that we will be live streaming regularly now. I'm not saying that I'm 100% converting to being a streamer, because we have dumpster diving videos coming up for you and some product review videos coming up for you and more of the Halloween upcycling, including the full tour of the Dumpster Divers Halloween yard display coming soon, all of that. But I have really enjoyed the streaming. It has been so good for me. And I think we're gonna keep at it, but not guaranteeing that it'll be every day. All right, I would like to, and I'm definitely going to try to, but it all kind of depends, because I'm getting like epidural injections next week, and they're working on this next week, and all that. So we're gonna do the best we can, but this will definitely not be the last of our daily live streams. Dennis, hello. Dennis, I am doing well. Yesterday, not so much. Today, much better. Vicky, I love that you think of Disney when you talk to me. It's appropriate. Okay, so because we do still have a long ways to go on the list, as seen on the thumbnail, we are continuing with that list of emergency supplies. It is a very generalized list, kind of broad spectrum list of things that they recommend having in your emergency supply. But something that we kind of realized as we were going over that list is that it's some of it is far more like a bigger time frame, like more apocalypse. We're living on our own, living off the land kind of a thing for months at a time, perhaps, where what I'm more concerned about and focused on, and will be in upcoming live streams, is more of the immediate, the 72 hours to a week and a half, 2 weeks kind of emergency preparedness. Okay, so as we're going through this list, I will mention them, we'll discuss them, some in depth, some much less, and it's just kind of going to depend on, because like one of them yesterday was seeds for planting. That's great, but that's far more of a long-term thing, right, than a 72-hour. So just kind of keep that that kind of perspective. Lab, Thank you for being here. So glad that you are here. Okay, so let's jump in with this list. Hold on. Not going to get anywhere without the mouse. Okay. All right. And also, while we're at it, we're watching Lego Batman, Reagan and I. So, hope you don't mind. Okay. So, we are on number 43 of a list of 75 very broad spectrum emergency items. This list comes from morningchores.com is where I found it. So number 43 is one that we have discussed already significantly yesterday, but now they're listing it specifically. So we're going to bring it up again, and because this is one that is always pertinent, and that is bottled water. And what it says here is this will probably be the first item gone from any store shelf if a crisis is either coming or hits. If you only drink bottled water, you should start stocking up now. However, if you're okay with tap water, don't worry about bottled water. Make sure you store tap water in durable containers. We did discuss that at length yesterday, including having extra containers on hand if you need to fill more water, and if you're not able to have more containers on hand because limited space, knowing what containers you have available, including the bathtub, where you could go ahead and fill those, So, Pamela, absolutely true. Think about things to keep warm in case of a blizzard, especially in your car. Holly, hello. I'm so glad you can be here. Now, this next one, number 44, is milk. Hi, Melly. Thanks for being here. So, like I said, this is not my list of emergency things. It's one I found on morningchores.com, and it is a very broad spectrum list. I'm just going to read it to you, okay? It does say milk, and it says this one should be a no-brainer. Every time bad weather rolls through, everyone heads to the store and buys up every gallon of milk and every loaf of bread. I don't know about that. I don't know that I agree 100% with that. Hi, Amy. Thanks for being here. Pamela, I'm going to agree with you. Powdered milk or canned milk? Yeah, powdered. Dennis, powdered or canned milk. That's what I would say have on hand. But as far as, and what if you're not a milk drinker? You know what I mean? Nah. The next one, though, I am on board with, and that is canned meats and food. And what it says, and we'll discuss it a little more, but canned meats can be an excellent source of protein. That is absolutely true. You can add meats such as canned tuna, ham, or Spam to your food storage, and I agree with that 100%. You can also can your own meat, which I am going to attempt. I'm going to attempt it this winter because I do now have a pressure canner, which you need for doing canned meats, and we are going to give it a try. I'm nervous but excited. Let's see. Number 46 is jerky. 100% agree with that one. What I will say is be sure that you rotate your supplies. Okay. And that's another thing that I've talked about many times in the past. I was raised in a religion that very much stressed end times, being prepared for end times, but not only prepared for end times, but prepared for emergencies in general, calamities, financial problems, joblessness, medical problems, disasters. But what I didn't like about it was that a lot of people, and I never went this way, but a lot of people would have mountains of buckets of wheat, and things that it was like, okay, in a long-term survival situation, if I also have a grinder, yeah, but if we're like having to conserve our energy, physical and otherwise, that's not realistic. And cans and buckets of wheat do go bad. I know because here in Utah, I've seen them in the dumpsters several times. And especially when someone dies and they're cleaning out their estate, they inevitably will have to clean out a basement full of cans of dehydrated stuff that's past its time and buckets of wheat. So I have always been under the practice. I have always been more a proponent of, yes, food storage, not food hoarding, food storage of things you actually eat, that you eat on a daily basis, that your family is gonna eat. All right. And just rotate through them and then keep a stock of those things that you eat regularly that can be stored and cycle through. I think that's far more effective, in my humble opinion, than buckets of wheat. Anyhow, number 47 is rice. That's another wonderful idea, but only if it's going to be properly stored. And again, if you're going to regularly cycle through it. Rice also does go bad. The beautiful thing about it is that it's incredibly inexpensive and can be cooked many different ways and paired with all sorts of canned, preserved food items, so that in a long-term survival situation or financial situation, you won't get so bored with the foodstuffs that you have. Same with dried beans. That's number 48. Incredibly expensive, easy to store if stored properly, and can be, again, used in various ways, lots of varieties of ways, and mixed and used with other preserved items, food supplies. All right, this one, again, like I said, these next two, this is a very broad spectrum list that will, of course, have to be modified and adapted to your different situation. But this one is baby supplies. Well, my youngest child is 12. Hallelujah, I'm past the baby days. So for me, I'm not likely to stock up and use limited funds for things like that. I'm just not for babies anyway. But I will tell you, there are some things that I maybe would have on hand, specifically baby wipes. I love me some baby wipes, especially when I travel. But so they're a baby item, but they do have lots of uses. I would just say, again, be sure you rotate through your supply and use them regularly, because they do dry out. I've learned that. Now this next one, again, broad spectrum. This one is dog food. So if you don't have a dog, that's going to be an issue. But if you have the means, the ability, the space to store it, the finances, it could be an item that could be bartered at some point. So that's something to think about. Same with the baby items. But again, how long can you store it before it goes bad? I suppose if you had the means, you could have it in your storage, and then as you circulate it, you could be donating them. And it'd be, a tax write-off. Oh, and there's Jamie Jaime Marie. Hello, my darling. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. We are talking emergency preparedness. Let's see. Then, okay, hold on. This is important. This may be, quite possibly, the most important item on the entire list. And I'm going to give us all a minute to guess, based on me, this is me, this emergency item that they recommend stocking, I say is number one most important. Go ahead in the comments. What do you think it is? Yes, Holly. Yes, Pamela. Yes. Yes. You know me. You really know me.
What is it?
Coffee. Of course it is the good bean. It is coffee. I agree with them 100%. Unless they start saying instant, and then we'll have to talk about it. Let's see. Yeah, preparing for a disaster, stocking up on emergency supplies, coffee is up front. Even for these folks, it is up front. It's going to be included, and I 100% agree. Now, not everyone, wants to have that there, and so I understand. Really, I don't, but whatever. I don't need to have it. Not no, I mean I do need to have it. I do need to have it. God, what words are coming out of my mouth? But I understand that not everyone needs to have it. You're a strange breed, those that don't, but I love you. And I will stock up on coffee. Yes, I will. Um, you know, yes, Dennis, it will be a luxury at in a time of crisis and disaster. Absolutely a luxury, but one that I will need very much. Pamela, yes, there is powdered creamer. And in fact, I am looking at doing over on my current obsession where I'm queuing up a couple of coffee review videos. I am looking at trying out some powdered creamers. I don't ever do that, so we'll see. Oh, Jamie, Jaime Marie, thank you so much. It feels good to be smiling. Yes, it does. I had some good news, some bad news, some crazy news, and I've got injections coming up next week that are going to be awfully painful, but hopefully do really good things for me. So I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited. Thank you, Lab. Yes, Rita. Yes, Rita. You're good people, Rita. Okay. I 100% do not agree with number 52, but others may disagree. Well, and I can see some reasons for disagreeing. Yes, Holly, in a stressful situation, you know that Julie, the frugal mama, and many other people will still need our coffee. Dennis, yes, in a long-term survival situation, but if you don't know how to hunt, then it's, useless. And we did talk about that in yesterday's video, where if you're going to have those kinds of weapons and items for, defense or hunting or whatever, please know how to use them. Please, for the love, know how to secure them and do. Also, we will be talking in more of these videos about actually learning the skills that could come in handy in a survival situation. So this next one, the more I think about it, I can see reasons for having them, same as I would, in a prison situation. So number 52 is cigarettes. If you are a smoker and you end up in a survival situation, it might not be the most optimum time to go through withdrawals, cold turkey. So I can understand that. But of course, to me, they're not something I would see as, oh, I've got to have that in my supply. Except for, like I said, the same reasons I would want to have them in prison, because currency, bartering. Yeah. So maybe. Number 53 is alcohol. And we're going to look, now it doesn't say it, but I'm going to look at it two different ways. And so we have alcohol for drinky drink, which could really come in handy in a difficult time. If you don't have access to pain medications, alcohol could be very handy. If this is all terribly overwhelming, a good shot or two of rum could really be beneficial. And it could also be good for trading and bartering. But Dennis, you've hit the nail right on the head. The other side of alcohol and having that in your preparedness is for wound cleaning and wound care. Absolutely. Not just wound cleaning, but also cleaning other things, sanitizing. Okay, because accidents will happen, injuries will occur. On the list yesterday was first aid. Alcohol could be very handy for that. But that is something you'll want to look up, because not just any alcohol, your margarita is not going to be ideal for cleaning a wound. Okay, maybe for helping you through the pain of the wound, but not for cleaning the wound because of the added items in that alcohol. So if you can store isopropyl alcohol, rubbing alcohol, that kind of thing, that's going to be great. But if in an emergency all you have available is, what you'd find on the liquor shelf, well, then it's important to know which ones are actually the right ones in an emergency situation. Okay, this one, a little different. This is let's discuss. Number 54 is sweet treats and snacks. Well, this again is a luxury, but depending on what they are and if you cycle through them, they could actually, it could make sense. Again, jerky, sure. Nuts, great source of protein, handy on the go, and lots of snack foods are on the go, but they also need to be cycled through. Yeah, Dennis, I agree. It's not very emergency, but what I will say is, and they're not likely to provide you nourishment. There are a lot of empty calories. But if you do have kids and whatnot, it could be helpful in a very stressful situation to have something like that on hand. So that's what I'll give them on that one. They do mention fruit leathers. And so especially if they're like homemade good fruit leathers, that is, an opportunity for nutrients and stuff like that. And it's, on the go. Baking needs is number 55. Yes, but do you know how to bake? Do you know how to make bread? Which brings us back to, again, the idea that, yes, have these different emergency items, but also know how to use them. Know how to sew up a simple wound. Know how to use a fishing pole or a weighted lure thing. Know how to use the items that you're putting in your emergency kit. Have some of those skills, including baking, including making your own food. If you're one that's always getting DoorDash and we end up in an emergency situation, do you know how to cook anything? Do you know how to boil rice? These are important things. And then once you have those skills, make sure you do have the supplies on hand to utilize those skills. But again, this is what I'm going to just be saying this over and over and over, cycle through them, because flour does go bad. Okay. Yes, Rita, 100% canned soups. Fantastic idea. Another interesting one, I have a sponsored product that I'll be reviewing next week of these silicone molds for freezing your soup. So making homemade soup. I tried out a delicious recipe last week of a taco soup. Oh, so good. And my brother and his wife regularly freeze soup for his backwoods camping trips. And so there's 4 in the set. So I'm going to give them 2 and I'm going to keep 2 so that we can freeze our soups. And then you could just have them in a plastic or glass container in the freezer to use as needed. Oil to cook with is number 56, so that you can keep things from sticking to a pan. Oil is a tricky one because oil very definitely goes bad. And so, yet again, cycle through it. We need to put that on a shirt. Cycle through whatever items you're going to have. Now, Melly brings up a really great point there. I'm so glad that you said that, Melly, because we did have one of the previous items was like sweets and snacks, and we're like, I don't know about that. Sweets and snacks is an emergency, whatever. But you're right. In diabetic situations, You might not have the healthiest choices, an orange or whatever for them. It might be down to that candy bar or those Skittles or whatever that you had on hand in your little sweet stash that saves someone's life. All right. The next two, I'm going to say, are absolutely not necessities, but would be helpful, would be nice to have, would make long-term eating of beans and rice far more palatable and enjoyable. Spices and sweeteners. You know, humankind lived for millions of years without a lot of that available. Were they happy? I don't know about that, but they did live. And in a survival situation, you could absolutely live without spices and sweeteners to make your dish more fun. But it, again, would be nice to have them, right? I know someone mentioned they're a tea drinker. So if you're someone that you've got to have your tea the way that I've got to have my coffee when society collapses, then go ahead and have some tea on hand and keep it in watertight, airtight containers and cycle through it. Pamela, I had no idea that honey had medicinal uses other than for like a sore throat. So as far as wounds and stuff, I'm going to have to look into that. Noodles, Rita, yep, another great idea. But again, cycle through. Yes, Dennis, a lot of this does depend on if you have power. We discussed yesterday, Dennis, power sources, backup generators, solar powered generators, battery packs, the battery jumper that I keep in my car that also can charge phones and devices and can fill up a tire. Okay, this one we've talked about many times, and it is on the list, and we're going to bring it up. Number 60, over-the-counter meds and antibiotics. Yes, absolutely. Those are things you have got to have on hand. And in an emergency, let's go crazy and say a zombie emergency apocalypse, you're far more likely than to die from injury or infection than from the actual zombies. Okay. And yeah, that's a, fantastical scenario, but even in real life, in regular life, those are the little things that in this day and age, we will, absolutely take for granted. Our access to penicillin, our access to medications, antibiotics, all of those things. Hello, Shatika. I'm so glad you're here. So especially if you are someone who has specific daily medical requirements, see if it's possible, if you are able to have a small emergency supply available to you to have on hand. Some doctors, some insurances will allow that. It just kind of depends. If you're able to hop the border north or south, if you're in America, and grab some extras of those, I'm not condoning or recommending or promoting any illegal or quasi-illegal activity of any kind, but I'm just saying that's something someone might do. Then we have vitamins, and that is absolutely important. When you're in an emergency situation, you may not have access to everything that you need. Fresh fruits and vegetables. Pirates, seafarers, one of the huge things that they dealt with was scurvy for lack of lemons. All right? Lemons, oranges, limes. And in an emergency situation, you, for whatever amount of time, okay, you might not have those things that you need that every human body needs. So vitamins, if you can have a supply of them, but again, the magic words, rotate your supply, okay? Yes, some people, Pamela, some of us are able to get 90-day supplies of medications, and that is wonderful. Very helpful. Very helpful. Yes, EpiPens lab, I have to keep several of those on hand. Now, somebody yesterday brought up what here is number 62, and that's reading glasses. And I would say glasses, contacts, period. Because if you can't see, what are you going to do? My beautiful Reagan, my son Reagan, recently got prescription glasses. And as has happened with all of us as we have gotten glasses in our family, it's a whole new world. And you're able to see things that you just had no idea were even there. The sharpness of every tree leaf, every individual blade of grass, and the words on the signs down the road. It's a beautiful thing, it's a wonderful thing, and it's also absolutely essential in an emergency situation. So if you do need readers, definitely make sure that you've got a pair of them that you get for $5 or $10 at Walmart in your supplies, and a backup pair of glasses or contacts, but I would say glasses would be a lot easier to keep clean and sanitary, and last a hell of a lot longer too. Okay, then feminine products. I know someone mentioned that yesterday, and 100% agree. And feminine products, yes, they're great for women and young ladies for their monthly needs, but they also have so many other uses in emergency situations. A good maxi pad is great for wound care. Fantastic. Then number 64 is hygiene products. And this is also going to be really helpful because your teeth, in the old days, before there was the dental care that we have now available in first world countries, let's just, how do I put this without sounding like how that sounds? But anyhow, we do have access to amazing dental health care. It's not available everywhere, and it is incredibly expensive, but it's something that a lot of us, myself included, do take for granted now. If you need a cavity cleaned out and filled, if you need a root canal, a cap, whatever, it's very expensive, but it's available, you know? Well, that's not available everywhere, unfortunately. And even where it is available, for some, it's absolutely just cost prohibitive. But what I will tell you is before those procedures were more readily available, people died, from mouth problems. We take our dental hygiene absolutely for granted, but you can die from mouth problems. If you get an infection in a rotted out tooth, it can get into your bloodstream. Hello, sepsis, you're going to die. And so in an emergency situation, having your toothbrush and your toothpaste and those kinds of things is absolutely imperative. And taking care of your teeth as best you can, absolutely imperative. Okay? A lot of times in emergency situations, it's going to be, especially prolonged emergency survival situations, it's going to be those little and simple things that we take for granted now that will kill people. Probably more often than the actual disaster, apocalypse, and zombie. It'll be the infections and the lack of sanitation. Yeah, disease will be rampant. But we did talk a lot yesterday about having water supplies, clean water supplies, and water purification and filtering. Then we have antibacterial items. Again, germs, infections, lack of sanitation, all of that can and will kill you. Which brings us to the next one, number 66, which is bleach. Bleach can come in handy in so many ways, and in an emergency situation, keeping things clean, it's going to help a lot. Okay. Number 67 is baking soda. uh, great for putting out fires. Okay. And if you happen to come across a small fire or accidentally start a fire, as you have not practiced your fire starting methods for emergency situations, instead of burning down the forest or burning down the shelter that you have built, if you do have baking soda on hand, it can put out that fire. A small fire, okay? And electrical fires and things like that. These are good things to know. Like I said, this is not my list, but we are using it, and it is very broad. Number 68 is paper plates and utensils. Yeah, in a crisis, the last thing you do want to worry about is washing dishes. I agree. And water supply might also be limited. And when all you care about is survival and finding your family and getting society restored and back up and running, there's a good chance you're not terribly focused on your environmental footprint. I know that definitely during times when I've been recovering from surgeries and procedures and whatnot, paper plates come in very handy. Excuse me. And also, you're not worried about them being dirty and having to wash them. As it mentions here, though, they're not going to last you forever, but they might make that emergency period a little bit easier. Okay. Aluminum foil. We talked about this one yesterday. Aluminum foil. And how it has so many uses, so many, yeah, Dennis, it's more the plastic flatware that I'm thinking about, and styrofoam plates and plastic coated paper plates and that kind of thing. But again, in a survival situation, you're probably not going to be worrying about that. But aluminum foil, specifically for cooking and storing foods, but also for heat retention, foil blankets, those kinds of things. Absolutely. You want to have aluminum foil in your supplies, your prepping stocks. Okay, this is a bit of a repeat. Number 70 on here, they're saying garbage bags. They had already said yesterday on an earlier one on the list was plastic garbage bags. And now this one is just garbage bags. So, I mean, there are different kinds of garbage bags, different sizes of garbage bags that can come in handy in lots of ways. For instance, the large black outdoor garbage bags, like for leaves and stuff, or the incredibly thick, hefty black garbage bags. I can see those not just for keeping things sanitary, for taking care of waste, whatever, but also for rain protection, okay, and temporary shelter. Well, and then number 71 is rain gear. And that can be as simple as a poncho and an umbrella. Now, in a windy situation, the umbrella is almost useless. Not necessarily. I mean, you could hold down the sides, but proper footwear, the little rain footy booty cover things, and just your dollar store ponchos could make a world of difference if you are stuck outside, whether you are on a roof, in a boat, on, at higher ground, up a tree, whatever the situation, and the rain's still coming and you're waiting for rescue. Something like that, that's also incredibly small and easy to transport, could really make a difference for you. Number 72 is warm clothing. And what it says is, it doesn't matter where you live, the nights will most likely become cold at some point where you live. It's important to be prepared for any time of the year. And, especially in your car, as winter is coming up, it is vital to have not just warm clothing and blankets and that kind of thing, but of course, lots of other survival supplies, temporary survival supplies, if you plan on traveling at all in the winter and you deal with snow and ice, blizzards, any of that. And as far as, oh, well, I live in the desert, I don't need that. That's absolutely not true. Anyone that does live in the desert will be the first to tell you that the nights get cold. My brother lived in Yuma, not anymore, hallelujah, but lived in Yuma for years and years. And at night, we would go out and have the most lovely bonfires and all of it, and it was cold. Even though it was hot as hell during the day, it would get cold at night. Yeah, and in the winter, it would get quite cold, like very uncomfortably cold at night, even in Yuma. So having some warm stuff, yeah, for sure. Rita, definitely Band-Aids and other first aid supplies. Vicky, I think that's very wise, having a survival kit whenever you work out of town. Absolutely. Number 73, we are almost done with the list. Work boots. Now, again, this is a broad spectrum. I don't have work boots. I'm not going to get work boots. I'm not going to put work boots in my emergency supplies. Can I see the logic? Yes, I can. Having durable footwear, knowing where it is, easily being able to get to it in an emergency situation could be vital. Having waders, if you happen to live in flood prone areas, having waders, the fishing kind or whatever, or Wellington boots, etc., because you don't know what's in those flood waters that you might walk through. Like, oh, it's only, knee high. I'm just going to walk through. Well, what's in it? Fecal matter, all other manner of waste, sharp items, dead items. You're going to get cut. Then there's going to be nasty stuff. It's going to get into that cut and you're going to die, okay, from infection. So I would say, if at all possible, avoid walking through floodwaters if there's been significant damage to infrastructure and buildings and electrical. You might just get electrocuted. You might not even have to worry about getting cut and infected. You might just get electrocuted. So, but that's a whole nother thing to talk about, walking through floodwaters. And I will have to do a lot more research to feel like I can talk with any amount of authority on that topic. But what I will say is, having waders, having durable footwear, great idea. Now, at the bare minimum, something to cover the bottom of your feet will make a world of difference, okay? But if you can have sturdier, more safety conscious footwear, well then that is going to be awesome. Okay, now we're back to like zombies and end times and, new civilization. Camouflage. I guess in a survival situation that really could help, because a lot of times your fellow man is going to be your enemy when things get incredibly desperate. Maybe not in the immediate. A lot of us are really good about coming to help each other in times of crisis, at least in the immediacy, right? Immediately. And especially if we're able to get society back on track right away. But in a long-term situation, everyone's just trying to survive, keep themselves alive and their loved ones, and you got to protect yourselves. And if you can't protect yourself, then making yourself less visible would be a good idea, which is where I could see camouflage being a great thing for protecting yourselves from other humans and also enabling yourself to hunt for food. But again, we are focusing far more on immediate survival, short-term survival. We're not focusing, not in this series of live streams, we are not focusing so much on the zombie apocalypse and the bunker that you're going to need. We're focusing on, okay, the power is out. Some buildings have fallen. We're waiting for things to get put back together. Here's what I need in the meantime. Okay. Then the very last one, and I think this is pretty important. Hi, Phyllis. I'm so glad you hopped in to say hello. Thank you so much. So, number 75 on this list of 75 things is entertainment. And I'm going to read you what it says, and then we shall discuss. Though it may momentarily seem as if the entire world has ended, in reality, it hasn't. Kids especially can adapt quickly and will get bored and fret, no matter the circumstances, especially without their devices. They'll want entertainment. Make sure you have a pack of cards and some board games to keep everyone busy. So I think this is absolutely important. Even though it seems like superfluous, frivolous, definitely frivolous to have entertainment. Well, if you have children, little kids, and especially kids that are of the device eras, then you know 10 minutes of no Wi-Fi, 10 minutes of no screen, and they start getting kind of, Mom, I'm bored. So you're going to be miserable without your electricity and our comforts, no matter what. It's going to be frustrating. But it doesn't have to be absolute agony, at least in regards to your children and their boredom and how that boredom then affects you. And not just you, or I mean, not just your children. Let's be honest. If we don't have a whole bunch of videos downloaded, stuff on our device that hopefully has a charge for us to watch as we're bored and waiting for rescue or whatever, we're going to get frustrated too. And the dark nights by candlelight and all of those things, when you're past just surviving, but you're now waiting for things to come back on the beam, you're going to need things to keep yourselves entertained. All right? And is that going to be the case in every situation? No. Some of you might be so busy putting your property back together, tending to your livestock and friends and neighbors and all of that, that you're not going to have any downtime, perhaps. But some of you may be injured. So, there's going to be situations. Just, it makes sense at the very least to have a pack of cards. And if you don't want to play cards, that's okay. I understand that. But what you can do is build a house of cards. Why not? I would. I have. It's some fun. Have some things to keep the kids entertained, some things to bring levity, to bring distraction to those that are sick, to those that are injured, to those that are suffering. Legos. Absolutely, Pamela. I 100% agree with that. Things to keep your hands busy, your minds busy, while you're waiting for society to come back online. Not necessarily for society to rebuild. That's a whole nother thing. You're going to be too busy rebuilding probably to have time for cards. Okay. But while you're waiting for things to just, electricity to be back on, water to be running again, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, some Legos, some books, some chalk. Chalk is a wonderful idea. Some toys, those kinds of things. For the kids, for the grown-ups, some things to just keep you entertained, keep you distracted. There's ways there also that you can connect with friends and neighbors and strangers. All right, you're hunkering down with a group of people you met on the road. Hey, gather together, use only one light instead of 5, and play Parcheesi. I don't know. These are things, these are possibilities. Phyllis, I'm so glad you enjoyed the video of Kitty over on our vlog channel. That's Frugal Family Flies Again. Spider is doing well, but tonight we're going to need to catch her a moth. She is out of crickets. And they're like $5 or $6 for the thing of them. And she never can eat all of them before they all die. So we need to find a better situation for her, especially this winter. I don't know. Can you keep a supply of moths alive in the house? I don't know if that's possible, how we would even do that, but we need to do something for her for food for the winter. She only eats live things, and in the winter, that's going to be a lot more difficult. Pamela recommends, or well, for her, having balls of yarn and a crochet hook. My mom will be the exact same way. That or a cross stitch, or knitting, absolutely. Well, Dennis, you have a generator and fuel. I hope that you regularly rotate the fuel, because as we've learned from the zombie movies, fuel does go bad. I didn't really learn it from the zombie movies. I learned it because of the zombie movies. They're never terribly accurate. But having a generator and some fuel for the short term is fantastic. If you need to keep a nebulizer, usable, if you CPAP or any other, dialysis, whatever, coffee maker, vital, having a generator and at least enough fuel for the short term can be all the difference. Yeah. Oh, that's an idea. What about in winter where it snows, Holly? I wonder. And then, of course, we'd have to catch them, the moths. But that is an idea, and I am willing to look into it. Hello, Renee. Thank you so much for being here. Melly, I have no more info on the dolls yet. I have been dealing with my health and Halloween and other family things that have come up. But most especially my many procedures and preparing for them and dealing with them and so many doctor's visits. But I have not forgotten, and we will be getting on to that. And Phyllis has her doggie with her. That's wonderful. Tomorrow is Vicky's dog's 12th birthday. Happy birthday tomorrow to your doggo. Crossword books. Such a good idea, Rita. Crossword books, puzzles, word searches. Fantastic ideas. Fantastic ideas. Yes, Dennis, that's another good idea. I'm going to note that and keep it in mind for when we do talk about fuel in an upcoming video after I've done some research. Dennis reminded us that there are additives that you can add to fuel to keep it usable much longer. Yeah, Pamela, I'm glad you added that little clarification, because I wasn't sure why you couldn't believe your brother had bought a generator for your mom's oxygen machine. Now I understand. You forgot about it. That sucks. But you know what? It happens. It absolutely happens that we will have, and this is something to think about, and actually not a bad idea for a future discussion. If you buy these emergency supplies, if you gather these emergency supplies, and then you don't know where they are, or you don't have fuel for them, or you don't even know how to use them, what good are they? Having things in specific locations and then knowing where those locations are, having it organized, regularly rotating, making sure you're using that stuff and keeping it up to date and replacing things that have expired that are no longer usable is vital. And being able to get to them in a situation where they're needed is also incredibly important. Another great idea, Dennis, pens and pencils. If nothing else, you can write your last will and testament. You can write notes, a goodbye note. That's very grim and very morbid, but ask anyone who's been on an airplane that is going through extreme turbulence or has lost the power of one engine. They're writing on the napkins. Will anyone ever see those notes if they crash and burn? No, but these are things that happen, and in an emergency situation, you'll be glad you had those. Oh God, this is a sad one, but there was a woman, I'm just gonna go ahead with this, who was hiking the Appalachian Trail on her own. She regularly had been checked on, but she didn't make it to her next checkpoint, and the family couldn't find her. Well, eventually she was discovered quite some time later by other hikers, I believe it was, and she had gotten herself stuck in like a ravine or something, and what they found was up until she no longer had the strength, she was writing in her journal and writing about what had happened to her and how this had gone down and writing letters and love and all of that for her family. And I can imagine in an emergency situation, you know, you might want to do that. That's at the extreme level, you know, because we're talking about how to survive, okay, the emergency situation. And so the pens and pencils could also very much keep you entertained. It could be a great way to write down phone numbers, because here is one. How many of your emergency contacts, your families and friends, your close people, how many of their phone numbers do you have memorized? Up in the old noggin. How many of those do you have memorized? Well, if you happen to have pencil, pen, and paper, you can, before your cell phone dies, write down those very important contact names and numbers. You can write down your medications, your allergies, those kinds of things to have with you available in case someone might need that information when they find you and you're unconscious or what have you. You can also play tic-tac-toe. I've gotten through many a boring situation by playing tic-tac-toe. Whether by myself, yes, by myself, or with other people. Yeah, Rita, and that's exactly the problem. All of our phone numbers are saved in our phone, so we don't memorize them anymore. But in an emergency, you might not have your phone. You might not have your phone charged. You might only have enough time to grab a few of those numbers and put them on paper, so that if you're able to use someone else's phone, you'd be able to still call those important people in your life. You could also, in the meantime, work on memorizing some of those phone numbers, right? That's fantastic, Renee. Those are vital. Those are absolutely vital. 3 survival pens, a glass breaker, seatbelt cutter, and fire starter. Absolutely vital. I would recommend having all of those in your car. Wonderful. Vicky's got the phone numbers in her emergency medical book. Make sure you double check those numbers if any of your family and friends have changed their phone numbers. Same to you, Rita. You've got your old phone book. Make sure that those numbers, names, addresses are up to date. Dennis has a medical alert bracelet. Absolutely. I used to wear one. I need to start wearing it again. Vicky is constantly cycling through, checking things. And that is so important, because these things do change or expire or go bad or what have you. And so it's vital to cycle through. Guys, speaking of cycling through, we cycled through in 2 days all 75 of the items on that very broad, expansive, very generalized list of emergency preparedness items that you might want to have on hand. And guess what? That's an hour. Boom! We did 5 days in a row of at least an hour of live streaming every day as promised, leading up to the hurricanes and now after the hurricanes. And I have really enjoyed this time with you guys so much. And so we will be continuing to be doing more live streams. I don't know that I could ever 100% just be a streamer because I have other things going on, and I don't know that my jaw can handle all the talking that is necessary. But we will be doing many more live streams. And when I'm available and when I'm, have it planned and all of that, I will, of course, as I've been doing, let you know ahead of time when those will be. They'll be, working around my family's schedule, our, doctor's appointments, our lives, etc. But they will be happening. I'm not going to promise that they'll be every day, but they will be often, and we have lots of topics to discuss still on the train of thought of emergencies and emergency preparedness and survival situations, but many other just kind of contemporary topics, things that come up that I think are relevant, that would be helpful, or at the very least entertaining, that we might glean something from, and that I want to talk about. You guys are wonderful. This has been so much fun. It's been so much fun during a very dark time for a lot of people, a very tragic time. I've really appreciated that we've had, this opportunity to just gather here and talk things out, check in, support and encourage each other, and now to also inspire and motivate each other to be prepared for whatever emergencies come into our lives. So that's what I've got for you. I will have, let's see, like I said, there's some product review videos that the girls and I are working on that will be going up this weekend. We have some dumpster diving videos coming up for you, yes indeed, and some more of the Halloween yard display stuff coming up. Judy, you made it just in the nick of time for a hello and goodbye. It's been wonderful, absolutely wonderful having all of you here. Thank you for spending some of your very precious time with us, with me, and I will see you all very soon. Okay? All right. Be safe, be well, and till then, be smart. Be smart about your life and your choices. Okay? All right. Bye, guys.